Do you think about what students eat on a day-to-day basis? Well, today I'm visiting you from my school, where hundreds of students eat a school lunch every single day. So, what does that look like? This is what a typical school meal will look like for students. As you can see, it has fruit, a vegetable, a grain, protein, and a beverage. But it's pretty basic, simple, and honestly, students aren't a fan of it being prepared in this way. But over here, I have what my ideal school lunch would look like. As you can see, it still has a fruit, vegetable, grain, protein, and beverage of choice, but it's a little bit more elevated, whole, and of course, 100% plant-based. Hello, I am Violet Lowe from Anthony Wayne Junior High FCCLA Pet to Career Center, and I am very excited to share with you my presentation, where I will talk about a new sustainable diet choice that more people are shifting towards with their food and lifestyle choices. So, let's talk lunch. The first thing that I'm going to talk about in my presentation are some big problems that we are facing in our world and country today, and we will only continue to face if we do not do something to make it change. Within the last 20 years, there has been a significant spike in obesity. The main cause of this is the American diet, which relies heavily on unhealthy, processed, animal-based foods. This has not only taken a toll on their weight, but also on their health. Another big issue is that with their heavier reliance on animal products, this has taken a large toll on our environment. Within the last 40 years, there has been a 45% increase in greenhouse gases. One of the reasons of this rise is the American diet. So, what can we do about it? We can start having plant-based options in schools. But before you can advocate for that, you're going to need to know some background information. So, let's start off with what a plant-based diet is. The dictionary defines plant-based as relating to or being a food consisting entirely or mainly of minimally or whole plant parts, such as fruits, vegetables, grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds. But you're going to need more than that. So, here are a few examples of what plant-based foods can look like and how you can transform them into delicious school meals. Most of the time, people think of plant-based foods as a simple salad, but that's just not true. As you can tell by these examples, you can transform plant-based proteins into delicious school meals that students will want to eat. What's the purpose of a plant-based diet? I'm going to start off with a quote by a very well-known plant-based advocate and Dr. Michael Greger. He says, "The most ethical diet just so happens to be the most environmentally sound diet, and just so happens to be the healthiest." With that being said, all of the problems that I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation can be dramatically helped or even reversed with a plant-based diet. The health of adolescents can be dramatically changed with a plant-based diet. It has been shown to lower your risk of heart disease, cancer, stroke, and overall change your health for the better. And as for the planet, the United Nations said that the only way to reverse climate change is to shift to a plant-based diet. But that is not all it does for the planet. It reduces your carbon footprint, use of water, and overall restores the planet for the better. Now that you know some background information behind a plant-based diet, I wish I could tell you that that is all that you need to know. But when it comes to changing what people eat, they may be hesitant to change. So now I'm going to mention some questions that you or others may ask about making the switch. When One of the biggest questions that I get asked about a plant-based diet is if it's healthy. Even with all of the studies shown and testimonies told, people still have a hard time believing of how healthy a plant-based diet is. So yes, to answer your question, a plant-based diet is very healthy. It is high in fiber, vitamins, minerals, and can help lower your LDL cholesterol. A question that I often get asked by administrators is, won't kids just throw their food away and worsen our food waste problem? Actually, already, almost all students throw away all of their fruits and vegetables. This is mainly because they're just plain vegetables and fruits, and honestly, students aren't a fan of them being prepared in that form. The CDC has recently released a study that said only 7% of high school students get their daily recommended amount of fruits, and only 2% of high school students get their daily recommended amount of vegetables. I believe that if we focus on making plant-based foods, such as fruits and vegetables, delicious and whole, students will choose them over a traditional school's way of preparing them. Another question I get asked is, isn't plant-based food too expensive? Let's think about when you go to the grocery store. What are some of the least expensive things that you or others may buy? Things like fruits, vegetables, grains, and legumes. But on the other end, some of the most expensive things that you or others may buy are things like meats and cheeses. So actually, a plant-based diet is significantly less expensive than an animal-based diet. A question that I get asked more often than not is, does a plant-based diet offer enough protein? Yes, to answer your question, a plant-based diet offers plenty of protein, sourced from lentils and legumes, nuts and seeds. But if that isn't enough, here are some photos of some very well-known plant-based athletes. And as you can tell by their muscular physique, it is evident that they have no problem getting in enough protein. And finally, how does this align with family consumer sciences? Well, it aligns with standards 9.6.3 and 9.3.6, which are to apply standards for food quality and sustainability and to critique the selection of foods to promote a healthy lifestyle. Throughout my presentation, I have talked about some big problems that we are facing and will only continue to face, what a plant-based diet is and why we should start having the options in schools, and some common questions that you or others may ask about making the change. So finally, I'm going to mention some methods and techniques that you or others may use to talk about a plant-based diet. The first thing that you can do is advocate for a plant-based diet. I know it may sound complicated, but it's really not. You can talk to some friends about it at school, or you can tell your family about it over dinner. And if you really want to make a stretch, you can talk to your teachers or administrators about it. Another technique that you can use is to start to incorporate plant-based foods into your meals. That's as simple as switching out an animal-based milk for a plant-based milk for breakfast, or trying a new plant-based burger instead of an animal-based burger. And finally, you can share your experiences about a plant-based diet with people. You can take a picture and post it on social media, or you can share some food with other people. And finally, and those are some really simple techniques that you can use to advocate for a plant-based diet. So finally, the question is, do you want to be on the right side of history? Thank you for listening to my presentation.